Hi everybody, this is Monica from Huckleberry Mountain Botanicals, School of Herbalism. I'm going to give a couple of seconds here for people to come in. We have another beautiful day out. We had nice weather and then we got some rain and wind, and now we're back to just barely a breeze and nice and sunny. It's been very enjoyable. So for those of you who are local, I'm sure that you are enjoying the weather as well. It does allow for you to go out and do some gardening and things like that. So today I am going to be talking about growing valerian. Its name is Valeriana officinalis. So remember, officinalis always tells us that at some point it has been part of the US or British pharmacopoeia. So it was an official plant that was used for medicine. It is in the honeysuckle family. It used to be in kind of its own family, the Valerianaceae, but now it's part of the, okay, see if I remember this, Caprifoliaceae family, which is the honeysuckle family. It puts out beautiful flowers that actually smell quite fragrant and nice, at least to me. I think some people disagree with that. Some people are like, ooh, doesn't smell very good, but I think they smell really good. And it's extremely easy to grow. There are other species within the valerian family that are also usable for medicine. So you can find those out when you go wildcrafting and that type of thing. So it doesn't just have to be grown in your garden. They're a little bit harder to find. And honestly, growing valerian is so easy that there's no reason why you shouldn't have it in your garden. I'm going to give you a couple of warnings about it only because it does like to spread. It's very spreading. Its favorite location is actually shady, but I have mine in almost full sun, and as long as it stays moist enough, it does okay. As it has kind of reseeded itself, it's moved around, and the places where it's growing the best are the places it's getting a little more shade, which is interesting to me. The best one I have so far in my garden is growing right next to my stinging nettles. And my nettles, if you guys have listened to my videos before, I moved some of the nettles from below over by my pastures and moved them up into my herb garden to make harvesting and also education a little bit easier, so people didn't have to traipse all over the homestead to see what things looked like. And so with my nettle area, I've been adding a lot of organic material because it prefers high nitrogen. So the valerian is kind of like robustly growing right there in that area where it has higher nitrogen. It's a moister area, and it gets a little bit more shade. Not a lot, but a little. So, if you're going to choose an area and you have some shady, moister areas in your garden, maybe choose that spot for valerian. That would be really, really good. The flower, though it does smell good, the root, for some people, is really nasty. I've heard it, people refer to it as like dirty socks or laundry, things like that. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just so used to smelling or eating things that are not super pleasant. But it really doesn't smell, bad to me. I think it smells quite good. And they say even as it dries, the root dries longer, it gets stinkier, but I've got some dry root here and I actually can drink the tea. Valerian is really, really good for sedation. It's considered kind of a hypnotic, where it puts you into this state of sort of not really caring what's going on around you and easing you down and helping you go to sleep. It's also a muscle relaxant. And so if the lack of sleep is associated with high stress or anxiety or muscle tension, valerian can really help. It's also good for menstrual cramps and even the GI, relaxing and allowing for not such stress stuff. Some warnings about valerian though. for about half of the people who take valerian, it is not really sedating, and particularly when you first take it. I'm one of those people. If you tend to be warmer, your cheeks are redder, you maybe have a little bit more heat going on, this actually may be stimulating to your body. It does increase circulation. And so for people that are more like cold, they're paler, they're maybe they look a little worn down, and it's kind of like, just imagine me pale and a little thinner and just sort of, and everything's kind of getting to me. The valerian would be a good choice for that. It also can cause a little bit of morning after grogginess. So you need to be careful how much you're taking or giving to somebody. You have to be really cognizant of that. Matthew Woods uses this in kind of drop dosing. So he gives very, very little and says that that's perfectly effective. Other herbalists give it in a little bit larger amounts. My opinion is take it and be aware of how it's affecting your body. Maybe if you have a free day, like a Saturday or something, and you don't have anything to do the next day or even that day, you could try taking a little bit and see how it affects your body, and write it down, like, oh, I got really, really relaxed, or I didn't. When I take valerian or anything with valerian in it, I feel wired. And I figured this out a few years ago when I decided I was going through a really stressful time, and I was like, okay, I need some help sleeping. So I ended up making a blend with valerian and a couple of other things to help me sleep. And I got really, I was worse that night than I had been any night. And so I started doing them individually. And when I got to valerian, I realized, whoa, that really, like, it almost makes me agitated and irritated and unable to relax or sleep. So don't think that just because it's about half or 4 out of 10 people are affected negatively from it, like me, that you necessarily can or cannot take it. This is a good thing to experiment with. It's been a very popular herb, and it's in a lot of sleep aids, natural or herbal sleep aids that are over the counter. You can choose to make this into a tincture. You can choose to drink it as a tea. And the warning again, with the tea, some people really don't like the taste. I don't mind the taste of valerian at all, but some people are extremely bothered by it. So drinking it as a tea can be challenging, if you don't like the taste. Tinctures can be a little more palatable and easier to get down. And it's easier to do more specific dosing if you've made a tincture. Both the fresh root and dry root can be tinctured. And there are some species of valerian out there that, Michael Moore talks about in his book. I'll link the book there, that he actually uses the roots and rhizomes and the leaves of some of those species because they grow smaller in little cracks, and they're strong medicine all the way around. Whereas the kind that you're growing in your garden, which is the officinalis, or other larger species, particularly ones that grow up here in Idaho, Washington, and Oregon, tend to only be medicinal in their root portion. So that's the only part that you would want to use for medicine. Really easy to cultivate, and also, like I said, they will spread, so be careful. I have literally a mat of valerian formed out there, and today I went and just pulled out a tiny little portion of them to try and separate them a little bit, and I got quite a few little baby plants. I may go ahead and try and make some medicine out of this. I cleaned some and I chewed it, and it's got that nice bitter flavor. It is bitter. So I may just experiment with the tincture and see how it works. Cats really love this too. It's likened to catnip, and they really love the roots, and it gives them that stimulating effect again. So maybe I'm like, my spirit animal is a feline. It's possible. I'm part cat.
Both Rhonda and Kana are saying hi on the Prepared Homestead.
Hi guys. Hi Rhonda. Hi Kana. So, and when you're harvesting the roots, like I said, I pulled these out. These are little baby ones from right now. Some information that I read said they act kind of like a biennial. So you'd want to take it in the fall of the first year, or the spring of the second. However, other sources recommend taking it when it's a minimum of 2 years because it's a perennial. Or one source I found, I'm trying to remember, I want to say it was Sage Apopum, recommended 8 years. So, I mean, that's a huge variation. So my biggest recommendation would be experiment and try. Because it does self-seed so well, you won't be lacking valerian in your garden. It just kind of flies everywhere and then will grow really well. Maybe where you didn't intend for it to be, but where it wants to be. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm just letting it kind of migrate around my garden. I'm taking out these little tiny ones that aren't growing well, and allowing the larger ones to expand in size and to really kind of decide where they want their environment. That's one of the things when you're learning about plants is, we grow using permaculture, and our key to success in that is mimicking nature. And what better way to mimic nature than to let plants grow where they want to grow? Now, if they're, invading a space, lemon balm tends to do that. Anything in the mint family sort of spreads in a really uncomfortable way, then sure, go ahead and thin it or pull it back. But observe what plants are doing better where, and allow those to be there, and take them out of the places where they're sort of suffering and not growing very well. That's kind of my method in there. I've got some Lactuca cereola, which is like a prickly wild lettuce, which is also something I'll probably cover at some point, that's decided to grow in my garden in different places. And I'm letting it go and trying to figure out, like, where is it going to grow the biggest, and just let it flourish there. And I can harvest that later in the year. That's a wild weed, and most people would rip that out of the garden immediately. But it's medicine, and it's decided to grow in my herb garden. What better place to let it flourish so I don't have to go out onto my homestead and try and gather it. The same thing with dandelion. It comes up where it wants to come up, and if something isn't growing very well, I just pull it out. Some of my dandelion in my garden is growing beautifully and has nice large leaves, and others it's struggling and it's really scraggly, and so I just pull that and take it out. So if you pay attention to your plants, it actually will make your cultivation of herbs much easier. Don't try to force them into your idea of where they should be or how they should be growing, but watch to see what they do. My whole goal, and our family's goal really with using permaculture, is to decrease the amount of work and inputs we need to do over time. And if I start in the very beginning and I stubbornly stick to what I want planned, I am gonna have to go out there every single day continually and be pulling and reining things in. If you take the approach of, hey, I'm just gonna figure out what these plants like, your life is a whole lot easier. It really is. And then if I do pull something up, I'm able to use it for food, or I throw it into my chickens and they eat it. We can do stuff with it. I've got tons of wood sorrel, the purple variety, growing out there, and I just go out and munch as I come along, or I'll throw it into a soup or into a recipe, or we'll make a delicious lemonade out of it. But I don't go out there and just like, oh, I need to tear that stuff out. It's growing where I don't want it to grow. A lot of things are growing where I didn't intend for them to grow, but they're growing great. So, my chamomile has spread and changed. It's not, I have my little rocks that are perfectly around my chamomile to keep people off of them. They're not even growing in there anymore. They've moved out. So I'm just gonna tell people, like, hey, be careful where you walk, because wherever you walk, you're stepping on food or medicine. It's my herb garden, so tread carefully. And I encourage you to do that too. Now, of course, there's some people that really like to have a well-manicured, perfectly pristine garden, and that's going to be a lot more work. And growing perennials, is harder, especially ones that want to spread or move. But if you just embrace nature and embrace, you know, how it wants to move, then your life is a lot easier and you have much more access to medicine and food. Even the wild stuff that you go out wildcrafting for can grow with success in your herb garden. I will take you on a tour of my herb garden a little bit later, just so you can see what I'm talking about, because, you know, whenever I give talks to garden clubs and master gardeners and things like that, one of the things I have mentioned, which we've been asked several times to be part of garden tours. And I'm like, people, our gardens are not, you know, neat. You know, they're not like these cultivated, totally manicured gardens. It's wild. And I like it that way. It's kind of like me. I don't like to be trapped. I don't like to be perfect. I just want to be free. And that's how I imagine my garden. It's just this free, living thing that gives to me not only food and medicine, but also emotional and reduces my stress just being in the garden. Lindy and I were just talking about that, how it's so therapeutic going in, not having to deal with people or computers or work or anything else, and just weeding or harvesting in our gardens. There is therapy in that. And so I highly encourage you to start a garden, but don't get your panties in a bundle if it doesn't grow perfectly and it's not, you know, really, really pretty. Who cares? It's your garden and it's a life that gives back to you as you give to it. So anyway, I think that's all I have to say since I got totally off subject talking about gardening and growing. But let me know if you're starting an herb garden, and I would love to see photos of your herb garden, especially if it's wild like mine. All right, until next time. Oh, wait. Don't forget, follow me on Facebook, Huckleberry Mountain Botanicals. I have lots of free content. If you go to academy.huckleberrybotanicals.com, sign up for my free course there. And on huckleberrybotanicals.com, you can also sign up for my newsletter. I send it out once a week, and that's it. And that's about updated blog posts. And that's about all I send out. So, you know, your email, it's not going to get an influx of all this stuff. I don't have enough time to be putting together newsletters all the time. So, okay, other than that, YouTube, I post everything on YouTube, but it's under the Prepared Homestead, and I put it under the herbal playlist. So I'll be posting all of this there as well. So follow us on YouTube, and there's a lot of great information on permaculture, growing, homesteading, water, catchment, gosh, just tons and tons of things. So until next time, oh wait, no, I have one more thing to say. Sorry, teaser all the time. I am changing my lives. Next week, we'll be going Monday evening, and I'm thinking 6:30 Pacific, and then also Saturdays. And what time were we thinking? Like 10 a.m. or something? Yeah, I think 10 a.m. Pacific. Hopefully more people can make it, but our schedules are changing here, and so we need to change it to an evening and weekend, and those are the only evenings that we have available usually during the week. So hopefully you will be there. I will put that updated schedule out so that everybody can see, and let people know if you think someone would be interested in just learning some herbal stuff. Sometimes we do cooking, sometimes we talk about growing or wildcrafting, just all kinds of subjects. So follow me on Facebook if you don't, and tune into my lives. All right, now this is for real. Until next time, help enjoy.